This is an I Dream of Words short. Today we're going to be talking about an English idiom. Beat around the bush. If you beat around the bush, you avoid talking about something. Let's take a look at an example. Hey, how are you doing today? Great. How'd you do on your test this morning? It was a beautiful morning. So much sun. Stop beating around the bush and tell me if you failed. I was up all night studying. I fell asleep on the desk. In this example, A is avoiding talking about the test they did this morning, and it's obvious to B. B knows that A is beating around the bush. But why? There are two possible reasons for this. One comes from Christianity, the religion that was dominant in English-speaking countries when the language was developing. The other comes from life in the country, where most people lived at the time. Which explanation is the right one is unclear, but it's likely both are true, and the expression grew from two different places at once. The first one comes from the story of Moses. Moses was a character in the Bible, definitely one of the most important people in both Judaism and Christianity. The story is that he was saved from being killed by being adopted by the Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, even though he was born into a slave family. When he committed murder, he escaped from Egypt to avoid the death penalty, and while wandering in the country, he came across a bush that was on fire. The bush is a symbol of divinity, the fire of life inside nature. The bush told Moses, yes, a speaking bush, but we're talking about ancient religion here, so it's definitely going to sound like a fairy tale, and you're supposed to see it as a symbol, to go back to Egypt and help the slaves to escape. The rest of the story gets a little complicated and very magical, but against divine guidance, he beats the ground. He is successful in escaping with the slaves, although it's the beginning of many other disasters. In the story, though, he goes around the advice of the bush god and beats the ground, trying to avoid the obvious and important problem of being chased by the Egyptian army. So Moses was perhaps the first character in history to obviously be beating around the bush. The second explanation is perhaps a bit easier to see coming. If you are leaving the human world of farms and fields and walking into the rough country, there will be trees and bushes all around. Trees are hard to hide in for a predator that could be dangerous to a human. Sure, there would be insects and small animals in the trees, but it's far easier to see what's there because a tree needs space to grow. Space lets light in so you can see. Bushes, though, can grow thick and dense right next to the ground. Snakes and wolves can be easily hidden in the bushes, along with many other potentially dangerous creatures, especially in an age before effective medical treatment for animal bites and poisons. So when people would walk in the bush, or in the bushes, in wild country, they would use a stick to beat the branches and scare away the animals they'd like to avoid. They don't beat the bush, they only beat around the edges. That way they know the animal will escape in the other direction, away from the noise of the stick. To avoid getting attacked from the undergrowth, they would beat around the bush. That's it. So next time one of your friends won't talk about something, you can tell them they're beating around the bush. Thanks for taking the time to join me here today for an I Dream of Words short. See you next time.